everybody. My name is Successful. I'm the founder and CEO of the Minority Psychology Network, and we are back with our podcast, Breaking the Stigma, which is the topic today. We're super excited. I'm here with my co-host, O'Neill.
This is the culture therapy, y'all.
Okay, and we have some very interesting guests today. I'm so excited to have them. We're just going to have them introduce themselves. We will start with you, Meilani.
Hi, I'm Meilani. I am a board member over here with the MPN, soon to be vice chair of the LVIC committee. So really excited about that. I am an advocate for mental health. So I've had my own struggles, overcome all those, and I love to support people in their own journeys. I just got certified in being a diversity and inclusion specialist, as well as some certifications when it comes to diversity and inclusion within the workplace. And how to spread some of those resources. So, yeah, really excited to be here.
Excited to have you. All right, great. Janice?
Hey everyone, my name is Janice Castro. I am a member of MPN and also part of the Spirituality and Mental Health Committee through MPN. And I'm a huge advocate for mental health, particularly with marginalized communities. As somebody who has also struggled with mental health myself and seen it in my own community, I am very passionate about being able to destigmatize mental health and work towards having our community members seek help and support.
Oh, and your credentials, do you have any?
Yes, okay, thank you. So I'm a graduate student through the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I actually just had my graduation ceremony about a month ago, so I'm almost or officially Dr. Janice Janice Castro in the counseling psych program. I just have to finish up my internship in August, and it'll all be done.
I love it. Doctor in the building.
Dope.
Okay, DeAndre.
My name is DeAndre Burrell. I'm a connected, trusting, vulnerable leader. I'm a board member with NPN, and I am an impact speaker, a sports performance, health and wellness trainer, and a professional athlete. I still give myself that title because once you are one or have been one, you're still it. So
Definitely.
yeah, I'm just thankful for this opportunity, just thankful to be here right now. And I am a huge advocate for mental health because I have experienced that as an athlete and in my personal life. And I've seen friends go through it. And, you know, it's all about healing each other and healing the world so we can all come together and be our best selves.
Yes, and tell us what teams you played for, because everybody's like, oh, you're the athlete.
Played with the Green Bay Packers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tennessee Titans.
Word.
All right, DeAndre lit. Okay, well, let's get right into it. So we all know there's a huge stigma attached to mental health in minority communities. So let's just talk about that. What stigmas or, have you been taught or heard about or learned that's attached to mental health? We can start with you, Janice.
The first thing that comes to mind is just I grew up with immigrant parents from Peru, and so growing up in a household living in the U.S. but to immigrant parents, I just it's very common that we hear that like therapy is for locals or for locas, like you must be crazy to be getting help for therapy. That it has to be a very extreme situation. And if you end up in therapy, it's frowned upon. It's kind of like, what's wrong with you? And it can be very isolating and stigmatizing, and it can make one feel excluded. And I think sometimes it happens that within the Latinx community, there's certain cultural values that might exacerbate some of the mental health concerns that exist within the community. There's some cultural values that do, I think, help us be resilient and be strong. But I think about, for example, machismo can be a very unhealthy cultural value that plays a role in our community, and it can sometimes influence, for example, domestic violence. And that in itself is a mental health issue because it impacts a lot of domestic violence survivors when it comes to PTSD, anxiety, depression, and just complex trauma in general.
Wow, that is so true. That is so true.
That is interesting. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Also, just sweeping things under the rug is a very common thing.
Yeah.
That is true. Like what happens in the family stays in the family. Things like that. Definitely true.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I want to ask the next question, just because you're absolutely right, Janice. that's very common in specifically minority communities. It's just there's a lot of struggle. Pray for it. Go to church. Pray it off basically. And of course, there's there is spiritual health, but there is also mental health, and that requires certain things and certain professionals that you should go and see to help alleviate those things. But at the same time, of course, what was it like for all y'all? This is an open question. What was it like growing up with mental health, being that it was stigmatized, whether it be in your family, your friends, or your extended family? What was it like growing up, having to face those challenges of the stigmatization, of mental health?
I guess, did you guys hear any talk about it in your family?
What was the challenges? Yeah, what was the challenges? I mean, I know. Yeah, go ahead, DeAndre. I thought you were.
No, I didn't. I didn't really talk about it with my family. It was almost like because I grew up with my mom and then my stepdad. I still call him my dad. So I think when I wanted to ask questions just in general, my stepdad didn't give an answer. Right? So it was like I was looking for answers, seeking an answer, and couldn't get it from him, and it would always be to my mom. Right? I was always asking my mom questions, and I'm like, man, I wanted some type of guidance. And I feel like I think me wanting to learn from another man, right, and I wasn't getting that made me feel a certain way, like, man, I can't even ask my own, father to for anything, right? Because he felt like this is not my blood child, you know what I mean? This is my son, but this is her son, right? She conceived him, and it was just like, okay. So now with that, it became I made decisions on my own.
Right.
And even if my mom gave me an answer, it was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure it out myself.
Right.
And I feel like that's still mental health, because it's like, man, I feel like I couldn't go anywhere for the right answer.
Absolutely.
I was seeking it myself. So when I made mistakes, it was like, well, I had to learn on my own. That's what it felt like.
You gotta suck it up and keep going.
It was challenging.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, who do I go to?
That's really interesting that you said that. How you ended it with, who do I go to, when you wanted to get this information from another male. So that brings me to, why do you guys think it's important for, people say, I want to talk to somebody that looks like me, that really holds people back from going to see, a mental health professional, because they have this image of what a mental health professional looks like from the media, and you say, oh, they're not going to understand me. So how important is it to you to find a therapist that looks like you? Meilani, can you answer this one?
Oh, my background's kind of like the opposite, I guess, to be honest. I wasn't raised with my mom. So, and I have two sisters, and so I was raised with my dad, so kind of like where he got it, I got it when it came from my mom. But my family's really passive aggressive. I think a lot of it kind of I didn't know that I grew up with mental illness until I just had a huge anxiety attack one day, right? And it was so bad I had to leave work. And I ended up being an inpatient in a hospital. It's the worst thing. The worst thing ever in my mind, because all that you see is the stereotypes that you see associated with wellness illnesses, one flew over the cuckoo's nest, or anything that you see when it comes to like psychiatric or something. It's just like red alert, you're crazy, like Janice said, and this and that. So it was it was a big struggle. The start though is knowing that you need help and then finding a therapist, right? It's not until I went to therapy, and I've done it for a while now, but it's not till now that I know that I can ask for someone who looks like me or another woman, but the start, right? Because I want to concentrate on the start is just getting in there and finding something. Then knowing that you have the option to find somebody who looks like you, but also when it comes to looking like you, I am African American, but I also was raised in my great grandmother was Chinese. My grandmother was Hawaiian. So I was raised, so they don't really talk about mental health a lot and the Asian community. And I was raised differently. So when you say, someone who looks like you, I just want to be mindful. I don't look like Asian American, but identify because I was raised that way as an Asian American. So when it comes to trying to find someone who looks like you, keep in mind that you don't really know until you really ask probing questions what they really are about, where they come from, just necessarily based off of what they look like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's interesting you say that, man. That representation and that specific representation is extremely, extremely important. Like you guys were saying, basically, the mainstream media, kind of what we think of what a mental health professional looks like is the shrink in a suit, the old white guy. Like, it's not like that. There's a lot of right.
Everything. It's crazy.
Right. You know what I mean? There's young people, there's old people, there's black, white, Asian, like you stated, there's gay, there's straight, like there is a wide variety of different mental health professionals. And so my question is for you guys, what challenges do mental health professionals have in terms of battling that perception of the stigma of mental health and that it's like all shrinks or, if you go there, you're already crazy. When in my own opinion, which y'all probably agree, everybody needs therapy.
I think you gotta be stern. You know what I mean? Because I've had therapists or whatever, and I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like I have to relate. Or being black and being a woman, right? Because now, like, I'm not just African American, but I'm a woman too. I feel like a lot of times therapists have a tendency, and it's been statistically proven that they have a tendency to overlook what we perceive as a problem. They don't necessarily take it that seriously. Or what I find that people are really scared of is they think that it's just going to jump into shoving a whole bunch of pills down your throat.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like there's the misconceptions that I feel like a lot of people aren't really talking about. And I think it's really important to like stand your ground when you find yourself in therapy and stuff like that and say like, no, I do need help. This is what I need. And be clear about what you need. And that person should be able to reciprocate what you need. So being able to clearly identify. You don't have to necessarily clarify because sometimes we don't know exactly what's going on. But to say that I have a problem and I need help. And what you're trying to do right now is not going to fix it. I need something else.
Meilani, I think you bring up such a great point because I think about how it's important as clients to advocate for ourselves to make sure that our therapists are helping us and providing us with the resources that they have available, because part of being a therapist or a psychologist is having that cultural humility. Without cultural humility, the therapist or psychologist is not doing their job. And it's important that they continue. That's why they have CEs. That if they want to practice with the license, they have to continue with their continuing education because there's so much that there's still to learn, especially when it comes to the complexities of trauma that people of color experience. That's a very delicate conversation, and there could be microaggressions happening within the own therapy sessions, which can be traumatic for the client themselves, especially when it's their first time in therapy. So I think Meilani brings up such a powerful statement about asking for what you need, because therapists went to school, so they need to provide you with what you need, and if they can't provide it, then they need to refer you to somebody who can.
Yeah, that is so true. Janice and anybody else, but specifically Janice right now, have you noticed an influx of clients or people that are interested in receiving therapy due to the pandemic specifically?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. There's a huge increase in people wanting to seek therapy. A lot of them have been doing teletherapy because of the pandemic. And what we've noticed is an increase in depression and anxiety, and the pandemic itself is such a traumatic experience for us at different levels, and also thinking about the racial justice uprisings and how that has impacted us mentally as well.
That's so true. What about DeAndre? So what about from like the athlete's point of view? Because the world stopped when the sport stopped. We're like, wait, what? We're not seeing games anymore. Like, what is going
The
on? So
Olympics.
how does that affect the athletic world?
Well, last year I did sign to play indoor for the Oakland Panthers in Oakland, California, and we were practicing. We were getting prepared for the game, and the next day is when they canceled, and that's when everything started being canceled, and they canceled the season. So, I knew a couple teammates from the same area where I was living, and it affected me because I was excited to go play. I was excited to be in the community, especially because it was close to home, and it affected my friends as well. Just you know, they're from Oakland. They want to play in front of their friends, family, and then the season gets canceled. It was just like, wow, and even the kids. When I was training them, I could just see like later on in the year of 2020, towards the end of 2020, and going into 2021, for them not to be able to play football and just seeing how their energy level was low. They're waiting for a breakthrough. They're waiting for something to happen because the one thing that they have as an escape is sports, and they want to go play and be around their teammates, and even school. You're not around your classmates, kids that were. One kid that I was training, he was a freshman and didn't go to school, didn't get to go to school in the fall and I could tell that affected them. Your freshman year, you're not even around anybody, you don't get to see anybody, get to meet anybody, you're doing class on Zoom. I could see how that affected him during that time, and as it progressed, he started believing in himself more and seeing what he could do and what he can be. So I know it affected a lot of people, and I could tell. I could just see it. I could feel it, see it in people.
I'm glad you brought up kids, man. Just because this is a question that I kind of want everyone to ask or everyone to answer. But of course, depression and other social, or, other mental health conditions have kind of increased with the younger generations. But what, in everybody's opinion, is allowing the younger generation, Generation Z in particular, to speak more openly about their mental health than the older generation. Of course, the older generation has that stigma that, did we lose somebody? Did it change? Oh, no, it didn't. But it's just, with the younger generation, their ability to kind of speak with one another through social media and things like that. Are we seeing a trend where mental health, the stigma is breaking with these younger generations, specifically in the minority community? I'm seeing a lot more Black and Hispanic kids and people under the age of 18 and maybe 25 that are being advocating more so for depression, MDD, anxiety, and bipolarism and things like that. So what do you think is allowing for that change to happen?
What do I think is aligning for that change to happen?
Allowing, yeah.
Allowing.
Mm.
Okay, sorry.
No,
What
you're
I
fine.
think is allowing, I just believe that, during the pandemic, for myself, and what I've seen in others, where people uh, tapping into their gifts, really seeing what they can be and who they can be during a time like that. That's big. You're either growing or staying the same. And the ones that grew and created things, whether it was a business or finding themselves or staying busy, um, I think that was actually a good time to self-reflect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I believe that's what allowed that to happen. Self-reflection was the key thing during that time, and those who grew, and those who didn't. And
Yeah.
it's always important to take time for yourself, because then you get to really see who you are. And I think the kids, that's big. I'm a youthful person, so when I see kids playing sports or me talking to kids, I know they get excited to see me, and I get excited to see them and what they can be because I know they can go do it.
Right.
So just seeing the high school kids, like I said, just seeing them excited and knowing what they can be. That one boy that I trained, I seen him grow from the time that I first started training him, just his body and working him out, and his confidence started going up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he just started believing in himself more. And he wanted to be a leader for his team, and he didn't even meet his teammates until football started.
Right.
So it just, just having an impact like that, and just seeing that, I know the youth can do it. That we just have to have the right adults that are guiding and leading. So it's really up to us to lead and guide them in the right direction so they can, keep that going.
I think people are having really good role models, right? I think people are being really vocal. Social media has helped people express themselves without having to be inside of a room, right? So they're feeling, I feel like they're a little bit more comfortable to be a little bit. And then you have people like Greta, who is a very huge advocate for these children when it comes to climate change. And then you have like the social injustices and stuff like that. That has been tough, but in all of these hardships, there's been a lot of acceptance and a lot of people that have really shown through to say it's okay to be you, it's okay to have problems, it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be binary, it's okay to be black, it's okay to be white. And you see on the streets when people have marked for the Black Lives Matter protest, when you see people who have marked for the all Asian lives matter, when all these injustices, you are basically being able to see these people come together and know that. And I think that really strong role models like what we're saying, really these people that are being clear representations for their convictions and what they believe in, I think that is providing these people and these children with a safe place to be able to express themselves.
Yeah, I like the fact that you brought up role models, Meilani. MPN, we're role models, It's a variety of us, and we're mental health professionals and advocates. So within your time of working with MPN, what do you see how MPN is breaking the stigma? So I want each of you to answer that, being that you're all a part of MPN. So we can start with Janice.
Yeah, of course. I think MPN does that in so many ways. I think about it from the perspective of the different committees that exist that are focused on so many areas that are impacted through psychology, and psychology can inform it. For example, I know we have a lot of discussions like workshops. We try to reach out, whether that's through social media, especially because a lot of our life has transitioned to doing Zooms and like IG Lives or Facebook Live, and also being able to bring on guest speakers to be able to have panel discussions related to the different topics that are going on in society. And then on top of that, we have a bus that's being developed. It's super exciting so that we can really put ourselves out there and reach out to communities that maybe struggle talking about mental health, or maybe just us being able to go into the communities, because it's hard sometimes for people to go to an agency or go to a certain organization and ask for help. And we normalize that by being able to utilize the bus to show our faces, to have these panel discussions, workshops, and being able to connect and network with different organizations and businesses across the nation.
Yes, definitely. What would you say, DeAndre?
I'd say just the connection, just reaching out to people wanting to be a part of this, just reaching out to me, and even me asking the question to be a part of it. It's people that care. The people that are in the MPN care and they love what they do. And without loving yourself, I don't believe we would be a part of this. You know, we love ourselves, so that allows us to go out and be mental health advocates and to put on these workshops and to give full effort, 100% effort, and doing it intentional. We're intentional with what we're doing because we know it's important. So we have leaders in MPN, just like you said, the workshops, that's big. Workshops. You got different panelists speaking about mental health. We want to be a contribution to the world, right? And that's who we are, and that's what I believe, and that's what I see. It's an impact, and when we do it together, we're able to impact the world, and that's what everybody's doing. They're wanting to make an impact on the world because we see that this is important because we have been affected by it. We've had our own experience, and we want people to see what's out there, the resources, and just knowing that, hey, it's important to train your mind, to have good mental health, to believe in yourself, to know who you are, because it'll give you confidence in everything that you do. And yeah, it's so much. And that's what I see. You know, everybody's intelligent. Everybody here is intelligent, extraordinary people. So that's what I see what MPN is doing. You know, everybody has a different gift, and they're just taking it to another level.
That's so right, DeAndre. That is so true, and you see it all in each event. What about you, Meilani?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm like DeAndre, I don't love myself all the time. Okay? It's a problem, but I work on it, you know, and it's a safe place to be able to do that. I think it's really helpful to be able to see people who look like me, or see people who look like you, or him, or you know, everybody. Michael, I want your toes to get dipped into the world of mental health, right? You don't have to go swimming, but I want you to know that you can dip your feet in and you will be okay. You know, I think the thing is as long as we're having these conversations, sometimes people are scared. They don't know that there are other people there, but there's someone I am sure that is sitting, or that you know that is going through something. But it's not until you provide that safe place and be that advocate and open it up and just let them dip their toe in and know that, hey, you know, this is here, just spreading the word, dropping the thing in the ear so maybe they can recall that moment, you know, like, hey, my friend a while ago, they did say that, you know, if I try this, or maybe if I go talk to somebody that can help, right? So just spreading the awareness little by little, it's a start, you know, and that's how we got to where we are right now, is spreading that awareness, letting people know that these are safe places, that there are people that look like them, that they're not going to get carried away, you know, up into the hospital or something. And there's so much help, right? And there's so much that we go through that it is okay to feel however it is that you find yourself feeling, whether it be overwhelmed, whether it be sad, whether it's being anxious, and you are 150% within your right to feel better about yourself and your situations, and just knowing that there's people like us that are there for you and that are there to listen and provide you and people the resources that you need.
Thank you, Meilani. Brian, would you like to add to what you think MPN is doing to break the stigma?
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, you know, actually going off of what Meilani said, because what Meilani's saying about, you know, changing the way we look at mental health is massive. What I admire with MPN is it's unapologetically a minority mental health advocate group, unapologetically, you know, and that's something that has not really been done before for Black and Brown communities, and extended with the minority communities, just because that stigma a lot of times comes from our last episode about communal trauma. I mean, there's these traumas, deep-rooted traumas that afflict our communities that still have long-term effects on everything from not just our mental health. It will go to our economic, situation, our status, socioeconomic status, our political capital, what we do. I mean, mental health, guys, is not just feeling better. We're healing scars and sins of our past, and we had to come to terms with that, and we need to see professionals that are trained to be able to remedy these problems within our communities. And it starts at the individual level. If you believe that you have or you just are you know, feeling depressed, or you feel like you have anxiety or any kind of mental health condition, I mean, even slightly, like Meilani said, just go dip your toes into it. It's okay. It's okay. And where NPN will come in is that, of course, a lot of that stigma that we see, and I just speak from, I'm black, so I speak from, for the black community in this terms because I just have experience, is that, I can't find a black male therapist, or those shrinks don't know anything about me, or yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? NPN is here. NPN allows you to find those individuals because they're out there. There's a lot of us out there. And it's just that it's tough. I can see from a clinician standpoint, a minority clinician standpoint, that it's tough that you want to service the people that look like you, but the problem is a lot of times the people that look like you don't seek you out. It's either because they believe in the stigma, or they just don't know that we exist. So NPN is that connection, that liaison between the communities of the mental health clinicians and the black and brown community.
You know, Brian, when you said that, I promise you, that is really why I started NPN. Like, I went to Howard University, and I was around so many black people that were doing so many great things. Right. So when I came into California, it wasn't highlighted. You didn't really get to see it, So I was like, I want people to see that there are black people and minorities, all types of, black and brown people that are doing great things in the mental health field. We're psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health professionals, life coaches, all different types, And I wanted to highlight that, but I also wanted to create more too. And I feel like giving psychoeducation and information is how we can create more of us, more minority mental health professionals. And that's why we have the app that's being developed, because now you can go on NPN app on iOS and Android, and you can look for, my mental health professionals. And I just think it's just so amazing what we're doing, and the team really believes in everything that we're doing, which is why we're so, successful. And, you can also look at mental health tips on the app, too. It's just so many different things that NPN is doing to make sure that we're really spreading the information and awareness about mental health. So, yes, we're wrapping it up now, guys. This was a lot. I loved it.
Awesome, man.
Yes.
Y'all did great, man. All of y'all did great. Y'all's insight is just impeccable, man. It's something that we always need. I love doing these just because, man, I get to meet and talk to cool people. So.
Yes. Yes, thank you guys. I'm sure we're going to do this again.
Oh, yeah.
This is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we wanted to make sure that we spoke about breaking the stigma. It's so essential. And you guys did such an amazing job, like Brian said, and we can't wait to have you all back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, okay. Well, that's another episode. Bye, guys.
All right.
Catch you later, y'all.
Bye.